Hello there, my name is Payal Naraine and welcome to this video series. यहाँ हम कवर कर रहे हैं पूनम दलाल दहिया की एंशिएंट एंड मेडिवल इंडिया की थर्ड एडिशन, जो कि लेटेस्ट एडिशन है. इस किताब को हम थ्रूली रीड करेंगे और जहाँ ज़रूरत पड़ेगी वहाँ हम साथ ही साथ यूपीएससी एंड स्टेट सर्विसेज में आए हुए प्रीवियस ईयर के क्वेश्चंस भी डिस्कस करेंगे. एंड इस सीरीज़ में वीडियोज़ लगभग 30 to 35 मिनट्स के होंगे, बड़े इफेक्टिव होंगे और हम ऑलमोस्ट 40 to 45 लेक्चर्स में ये पूरी किताब कवर करेंगे. और अगर आपने ये सीरीज़ 3 to 4 टाइम्स देख ली तो बिल्कुल ये किताब आपके दिमाग में छप जाएगी एंड ट्रस्ट मी, आपकी एक्यूरेसी भी काफ़ी इंक्रीज़ हो जाएगी. साथ ही साथ आपका रिवीजन भी काफ़ी आसान हो जाएगा. सो अगर आपको रिवीजन के साथ साथ वैल्यू एडिशन भी करना है तो ये सीरीज़ पूरी फॉलो करें. आपको बस आपके पास ये किताब रखकर मुझे सुनना है एंड मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स मार्क करने हैं. So without any further delay, let's get started. हेलो देयर, वेलकम बैक टू द चैनल घटना सूत्र. यहाँ हम कवर कर रहे हैं पूनम दलाल दहिया की एंशिएंट एंड मेडिवल इंडिया थर्ड एडिशन, जो कि लेटेस्ट एडिशन है. और हमने लास्ट वीडियो में कवर कर लिया था पांड्यास एंड नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट विद द चोलास, राइट. एंड हाँ, जस्ट स्टार मार्क दिस टॉपिक इन योर बुक्स टू, क्योंकि इसके ऊपर यूपीएससी 2003 में सवाल पूछा गया था, राइट. सो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड. Cholas. The Chola kingdom, which in early medieval time was also known as Cholamandalam or Coromandel, was situated in the northeast of the territory of Pandyas and between the Pennar and the Velar River. The chief center of political power and capital, Uriyur, was famous for cotton trade. They also maintained an efficient navy. It also appears that in the middle of the 2nd century BCE, a Chola king named Elara conquered Sri Lanka and ruled it over for nearly 50 years. The Cholas were also rich and prosperous, and the main source of their wealth was their trade in cotton cloth. Karikala, one of the greatest of all Chola kings, who founded the port city Puhur, modern Kaviripatnam, which was a great center of trade and commerce and had a large dock. They constructed 160 kilometers of embankment along Kaveri River. It is mentioned that this was built with the labor of 12,000 slaves brought as captives from Sri Lanka. Credited with having defeated a confederacy of Pandyas, Cheras and their allies at the Battle of Venni. It is mentioned in Sangam text that 11 rulers lost their drums in the field, which is significant as the royal drum was an important insignia of royal power. And the Chera king who suffered a wound in the back died of Vetakirutal, a ritual starvation. He also credited with another major victory at Vahiparandalai, in which, according to the Sangam text, several chieftains lost their umbrellas. Todaman Ilandrian, another important Chola ruler who ruled from Kanchi either as an independent ruler or as a subordinate ruler of Karikala. He was a gifted poet, and in one of his poems, he has emphasized on the personal character of the king. He says that in order to rule well, a king should possess a strong personal character. Under Karikala's successors, especially Nalangiri and Nedungiri, who fought bitterly amongst themselves for the throne. The Chola power rapidly declined, and it is believed that their neighboring power expanded their empire at their cost. Later, the Pallavas from the north wrested a lot of their territories. From the 4th to 9th century CE, the Cholas played a marginal role in South Indian history. The Cheras. The Chera were situated in the west and the north of the Pandyas. It was an important and prosperous kingdom. Excuse me. The Cheras. The Cheras were situated in the west and the north of the Pandyas. It was an important and prosperous kingdom owing to its trade with the Romans. It appears that the Romans had in fact set up 2 regiments at Muzri and Muchri, near modern Kochi, to protect their interests and also build a temple of Augustus. The history of the Chera was marked with continuous battle with the Cholas and the Pandyas. Udayanjaral, earliest known Chera king. Nedunjaral Adan, one of the prominent king of Chera dynasty who probably defeated 7 crowned kings and won the coveted title of Adhiraja. It is also claimed that he not only defeated an enemy on the Malabar coast but also captured several Yamuna traders and later released them after taking ransom. He is also believed to have fought a war against the Chola king. However, in this war, unfortunately, both the principal adversaries, that is to say that the Chola king and Nidunjara, lost their lives. Kutuwan, the younger brother of Nidunjaral Adan, conquered Congo and extended the power of the Chera up to the eastern and the western ocean. One of the Adan's sons is also described as Adhiraja, who claimed to wear a garland of 7 crowns and was victorious against Anji, a chieftain of Tagadur. Singatuan was Nindurajal Adan's son, according to Chera poet, was the greatest king who is known as the Red or a Good Chera. He led many successful military expeditions. He won a battle against Mokur chieftains. He is also mentioned in the post-Sangam text Silpadikaram, which describes his military conquest against Viluyar in the land of Nanan and capture of the Kodukur fortress in Congo country. He was successfully backed one of the claimant in the Chola succession conflict, killing the 9 others. He also claimed to have invaded the north and fought against the Aryan chieftains in order to obtain stone for an image of Kanagi, the heroine of Silpadikaram, and considered the goddess of chastity, and crossed the Ganga and had a bath in the Ganga before bringing the stone back to his country. Koduka Ilanjiral Irumpurai, one of the last Chera kings mentioned in the Sangam text, who is also believed to have won wars against the Cholas and the Pandyas. After the 2nd century CE, the Chera power declined and not much is known of their history till the 8th century CE. The Sangam poet also eulogized various chieftains such as Andiran and Pari for their heroism and generosity. Administration and social life of the 3 early kingdom. So star mark this क्योंकि इसके ऊपर UP UDA/LDA की एग्जाम में 2010 में सवाल पूछा गया था एंड यहाँ पे जो भी important terms mention हैं and what does that mean, like highlight that in your books too, and you need to revise it, right? So let's get started. The administration and social life of the early kingdoms, the economy of Sangam age. The whole Tamil Kaman in this period was divided into 5 tenyas or ecozones based on the economic resources. These were Kurinji, hilly region; Palai, arid zone; Mulai, pastoral tracts; Murudam, wetlands; and Natal, sea coast. These zones were not clearly demarcated and were scattered all around the region. Because of their different geographical contexts and ecological specialities, people in different tenyas had their own mode of subsistence. For example, in Kurinji, it was hunting and gathering. In Pelai, where people could not produce anything, they took to raiding and plundering. In Mulai, people practiced animal husbandry. In Murudam, it was block agriculture. And in Natal, people took to fishing and salt making. The people were engaged in various economic activities such as agriculture, crafts, and trade. Rice was the most important crop. It formed the main part of people's diet and also served as a medium of barter exchange for inland trade. The top of the peninsula and the adjacent region were extremely fertile and produced paddy, ragi, sugarcane, fruits, pepper, turmeric. Since the Tamil region does not have a perennial river, the chiefs, wherever possible, encouraged agriculture activities by making tanks and dams. The Chola king, Karikala of the Sangam age, is credited with the construction of dam on the river Kaveri. It is considered to be the earliest dam in the country. Among the craft, the most important one was spinning and weaving of textile, cotton as well as silk. Salt manufacturers were another important activities. The most important features of the Sangam economy was flourishing trade with the Roman world. The best account of Indo-Roman trade is given in the book called Periplus of Erythraean Sea, which was written in the 1st century CE by an anonymous author. Another Roman writer, Pliny, complains in his account Natural History that Rome was drained of gold on account of her trade with India. Major items of export to the Romans were the Indian products such as spices, including Yavana Priya or pepper, perfumes, jewels, ivory, and fine textiles, muslin especially. Several precious and semi-precious stones like diamond, carnelian, turquoise, agate, sapphire, and so on. Besides pearls, indigo, sandalwood, iron, and steel cutlery. Against this import, Roman exported gold and silver to India. It is confirmed by the recovery of large number of Roman gold coins in South India. Other important item of export from the Roman Empire includes wine, which is indicated by wine, amphorae, and shades of Roman ware, found in significant numbers in Arikemedu in South India. Beside these, the Western trade also brought tin, lead, coral, and slave girls to the subcontinent. After the discovery of monsoon by Hippasus, a Greek navigator, in 45 CE, more and more sea voyages were used for trading purpose. The discovery of monsoon and the use of direct sea route between Indian coast and the Western world as well as the Southeast Asia was the main reason for the growth of trade. Important ports of India on the western coasts were Barukacha or Bharuch, Sopara, Kalyana, and Muziri. Ships from these ports sailed to the Roman Empire through the Red Sea. Trade with Southeast Asia was conducted throughout the sea. The prominent ports on the eastern coast of India were Tamralipati, West Bengal, Arikamedu, Tamil Nadu coast, and so on. Sea trade also conducted between Barukacha and the ports of Southeast Asia. The economy of all three kingdoms flourished due to the large-scale local and long-distance trade. It led to the rise of important towns and craft centers in the Tamil region. Vanji, the capital of Cheras, was an important center of trade and craft. Muziris or Muchiri on the southwest coast was the foremost port of the Cheras. It is believed that the Roman ships laden with gold used to land here and took back large amount of pepper. An interesting 2nd century document, the Venani Papyrus, records an agreement regarding transportation of goods between the two merchants based in Alexandria and Muchiri. Madurai, the capital of Pandyas, was an important center of fine textile and ivory working. Korakai in Tirunelveli district of Tamil Nadu was an important Pandya port, which was famous for its pearls. Uriyar, Trichinpalli in Tamil Nadu, the capital of Cholas, was a grand city with magnificent building. Kaviripatnam in Puhur was the main Chola port. The Sangam poems also refers to busy market guarded by soldiers who, in order to ensure the safety of merchants and prevent smugglings, used to maintain constant vigil on the trade routes. Transit duties were collected from merchants who moved their goods from place to place. Tribute from subordinate chiefs along with plunders, spoils of the war were the main source of revenue. Social structure and organization. In the Tamil Brahmi script, found in several places, kings are addressed as Ko and chieftains as Ko or Kon. The Brahmins first appear in the Tamil land in the Sangam age. Many Brahmanas functions as poets were generously rewarded by the king. Though the concept of Varna was known and social classes of early Sangam period were not marked by acute caste distinctions, this phenomenon appeared in the later stage. For instance, Brahmana were present in the society and they performed Vedic ceremonies and sacrifices and also acted as advisors to the chiefs. But they enjoyed no special privileges and also took meat and wine. The Kshatriyas and Vaishyas appears as a regular Varna in Sangam text. The more relevant basic of stratification was Kuti, clan-based descent groups, where there was no real restrictions on interdining and social interaction. Among the Kuti groups, the ruling class were called Arasar, and its member had marriage relations with the Velas, rich peasants, which formed the fourth caste of peasants. The Velas held the bulk of land and employed Kadasians, agricultural laborers, to do the manual farm work. Some agricultural laborers, known as Pariyars, also worked in animal skin and used them as mats. People were known on the basis of the occupation they followed, such as artisans, salt merchants, textile merchants, etc. There were sharp social inequalities in the age of Sangam. The rich lived in well-decorated brick houses and wore costly clothes, whereas the poor lived in mud huts and had scanty clothes to wear. The class of warriors was an important element of polity and society. Commander of the army were credited with the title of Inadi at a formal ceremony. The state maintained a rudimentary army which consist of chariot drawn by oxen, elephants, cavalry, and infantry. Elephants played an important role in war, while horses were imported by sea. War heroes occupied a special position in society, and memorial stones called Nadukal or Virukal were raised in honor of those who died in fighting, and they were worshipped as god. In the domain of religion, the Sangam period witnessed a close and peaceful interaction between North Indian and South Indian tradition. The Brahmanas who performed religious ceremonies popularized the worship of Indra, Vishnu, and Shiva in South India. The Sangam poems reflect the emergence of new bases of royal prestige and legitimacy by performing Brahmanical sacrifices. For instance, a Pandya ruler, Mudukudumi, took the title of Palashlai, one who had many sacrificial halls. There are also references to the presence of Buddhism and Jainism in Tamil region. The local people, particularly those of the hills, worshipped the deity called Murugan, which also identified with Kartikeya, a war god in North India, and was later called Subramanian in medieval times. Megalith practice of providing for the dead continued in the Sangam age too. As people offered rice to the dead, cremation was also introduced. Sangam text also reflects in the belief of sacred and magical forest called Anaku that were supposed to inhibit different objects. The job of carrying out rites and rituals to correct the Anakus were entrusted to lower caste Paryans, Panans, and Velans who were generally associated with ritualistic dancing, singing, with lighting. The cremation fire and worshipping Natukal, memorial stone, Anuku was also believed to cling to women, and it was generally believed that if a woman was chaste, her Anaku would be under control and had auspicious potential. Women in the Sangam period appear to have been educated. This is testified by many poems contributed by women poets to the corpus of Sangam literature. Women were also described as engaging in various economic activities such as paddy plantation, cattle rearing, basket making, spinning, etc. However, the cruel practice of sati was also prevalent in Tamil society. It was known as tipayadal, but it was not obligatory as there are references to widows present in society. However, the position of widow was miserable as they were prohibited to decorate themselves or participate in any form of amusement. Sangam poems also mention the Civilitai who were like foster mothers and seems to be closely associated with the family members. Now, key terms and its meaning. Kalatika, superintendent of pearl fishers. Kanatikan, chief of scribes. Nalakars, reed workers. Lonakars, salt makers. Koluvanikan, traders in plowshare. Kolu, hard iron tip fixed to a wooden plowshare. Ur, assembly of village elders. Emporium, a Greco-Roman term, coastal town associated with foreign trade. Patinam, port. Sattaha Vakula, family of Kavan traders. Kumbhakarakula, family of potters. Setikula, family of merchant cum bankers. Kumarakula, family of metalsmith. Atvira Kihakula, family of forest guards. Dhanavanji Kula, family of grain merchants. Panika Kula, family of greengrocers. Pasan Kota Kula, family of stone grinders. Satta Vahaputta, son of Kavan traders. Nisada Putta, son of hunters. Vadhika Putta, son of carpenter. Shilakas or Shilavadika, stonemason. Kamra, blacksmith. Gadika, perfumer. Kurushapana, copper coin. Niyamaka Jetha, head of sailors guild. Katikai, assembly of learned person. Craft and trade and towns in the post-modern age. The period pertaining to the Shakas, the Kushanas, the Satavahanas, and the three early kingdoms, that is the period from 3rd century BCE to 2nd century CE, was most flourishing period in the history of craft and commerce in ancient India. Production of craft started growing in this period with tremendous impetus as trade and commerce, both internal and foreign, was dependent on the great extent on the craft activities. The Diganikya, which belonged to the pre-Mauryan times, mentioned early 2 dozen occupations, but the Mahavastu, which belonged to this period, catalogued 36 kind of works. Similarly, Milindapanu mentioned 75 occupations, of which 60 were associated with craft. A Tamil text known in English, The Garland of Madurai, supplemented the information provided into two Buddhist texts. The level of specialization was very high, and as many as 8 crafts were associated with the working of gold, silver, lead, tin, copper, brass, iron, precious stone, or jewels, which employed separate artisans working in each craft. The technological advancement in iron is evident by excavation of sophisticated iron artifacts, especially from Karimnagar and Nalgaon district of Telangana region. Indian iron and steel included cutleries were exported as far as Abyssinian port and were in high demand in Western Asian countries. The manufacturing, textiles, silk weaving, arms, luxury articles, handicraft, and terracotta figurine made rapid progress during this period. The textile industry was prominent industry. Mathura, famous for a special type of cloth called Shataka, and Vanga, eastern Bengal, were famous for a variety of cotton and silk textiles. The discovery of some dyeing words at some sites in South India, such as Uriur and Arikamedu, indicate that dyeing was thriving craft in area during this period. Ujjain was a prominent bead making center. The shell industry was in thriving state, and many shell products belong to this Kushana period have been excavated. Coin minting was an important craft, and this period is noted for numerous types of coins made up of gold, silver, copper, bronze, potin, lead. Interestingly, the craftsmen even made fake Roman coins. The beautiful piece of terracotta found in profuse quantities in almost all Kushana and Satvana site, especially Yelshavaram in Nalgonda district, are truly masterpiece. It is generally believed that terracottas were meant mostly for the use of upper classes in town. The artisan in this period touched a new height of prosperity, and there are numerous inscriptions which refers to the donations made by the artisans to monasteries. The communities of merchants were organized in groups known as Shreni or guilds under the head called Shreshti. Another type of mercantile group was called Sartha, which signified mobile or caravan trading corporations of interregional trades. The leaders of such guilds was called Sarthavaha. Like merchants, most all craft vocations were also organized into guilds, each under the headman called as Jetaka or Pamukha. These include weavers, corn dealers, bamboo workers, oil manufacturers, potters, etc. The guilds were association of merchants and craftsmen following the same profession or dealing in the same commodity. They elected their head and framed their own ruler regarding price and quality to regulate their business on basis of mutual goodwill. They are served as bank and received deposits from the public on fixed rate of interest. It is interesting to note that the 2nd century CE in Maharashtra lay devotees of Buddhism deposits money with their guilds of potters, oil millers, and weavers for providing robes and other necessity for the monks. Similarly, at Mathura at the same time, there is a mention of deposits of money with the chief of floor guilds for serving daily to the Brahmanas. The Yajnava Lakya Smritis refers to the qualification and power of guilds offers and also hinted toward judicial rules of the guilds. The guild heads used to have a good rapport with the king, and according to some Buddhist texts, they used to accompany the king as a part of their official entourage. Sometimes they were also appointed as Mahamattas. Certain officials known as Bandhagarika were appointed to keep record of the transactions and the conventions of the guilds. As mentioned in Nigorada Jatakas, the royal officer had authority over the guilds. Some guilds also had Shrenibal, which was some sort of corporate organization of warriors maintained by these guilds. The importance of the guild was to be gauged by the fact that some guilds also issued coins and seals. Some coins found in Takshila have the legend Nigama, while copper coins found in Koshambi bear the legend Gadhi Kanam. Some seals with the caption Nigma, Nigmatsya have been found in the site of Rajghat. Seals which with the legends of Gavayaka signifying guilds of milkmen. Beta, seals with legends of Sulpa Halyakinan signifying guild of makers of arrowhead, and Achichatra seals with the legend of Kumhakaras signifying guilds of potters. One of the most important features of the post-Mauryan period was the growth of trade and commerce, both internally as well as externally. As we have discussed earlier, there are two major internal land routes in ancient India: Uttarapath, which connects northern and eastern part of India and the northwestern fringes, and Dakshinapath, which connected peninsular India with the western and the northern part of India. The Dakshin Patha started from Kaushambi near Allahabad, ran through Ujjaini, modern Ujjain, extended further up to Birugukuch or Boruch, an important port in western coast. The Dakshin Patha was further connected with Parthisan, modern Patan, the capital of Satavahanas. We have already discussed about the flourishing trade and the different item of import and export of the three early South Indian kingdoms with Rome and Southeast Asia. Interestingly, in addition to the articles directly supplied by India, certain articles were brought to India from China and Central Asia and then sent to the eastern part of the Roman Empire. For instance, earlier silk was directly sent from China to the Roman Empire through the famous Silk Route, but after the annexation of Iran by Parthians, silk was diverted to the western Indian ports to the northwestern part of the subcontinent, and sometimes it is also transported via the east coast to the west coast to the subcontinent. Thus, the period from 200 BCE to 300 CE was marked by the urban prosperity all over India. More is known about the urban centers than the village of this period. So we are done with this chapter, and now we are going to start with the next chapter, that is the Guptas and Vatakas from 300 to 600 CE. As we have discussed earlier, after the fall of Mauryan Empire, the Kushanas in the north and the Satavahanas in the Deccan emerged as the two major political powers. They not only brought political unity and economic prosperity to these regions, but were also great stabilizing forces in their respective areas. Around 230 CE, the Kushanas' reign ultimately came to an end in the northern India, and a considerable part of its empire came under the suzerainty of the Murundas, possibly kinsmen of the Kushanas. The Murundas ruled for a short time span of about 25 to 30 years. Around the last decade of the 3rd century CE, around 275 CE, a new empire arose on the ruins of the Kushana Empire and established a sway over a good part of the former dominions of both the Kushanas and the Satavahanas. This was the Gupta Empire, which kept northern India politically unified for more than a century. The Guptas. The Guptas are believed to be a feudatories of Kushanas. They are most likely Vaishyas in origin and ruled over the fertile plains of Madhya Desha, that is Anugana, the middle Gangetic basin, Saketa, modern Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh, and Magadha, mostly Bihar, Prayag, modern Allahabad, Uttar Pradesh, was probably the important centers of power, which, due to its strategic location, further aided in the expansion of the empire. The Guptas could easily exploit the iron ore deposits of central India and southern Bihar, and also took advantage of their proximity to the area of North India, which carried on silk trade with Byzantine Empire. Eastern Roman Empire, Garuda, was probably their state seal. Historians often consider the Gupta period as the golden age of India's past, as it is often remembered for certain key classical features, such as the political unification of large part of the subcontinent under the most centralized government, the production of exceptional Sanskrit literature, work, sophisticated stone sculptures and architecture, and innovative development in the field of science and technology. The political history of the Guptas is largely reconstructed on the basis of certain excavated inscription and coins. So that's all for the day. So in the next lecture, we'll start with the Gupta dynasty. So keep on watching Ghatna Sutra. See you next time.